Echoes of goodbye. Everything had been too loud since Noah died. Lena Caldwell could not tolerate the sound of anything anymore. Not the horns of the traffic outside her apartment window, not the murmur of strangers on the red line, not even the squeak of her own footsteps over the hardwood floor. Everything sounded like it grated against the ragged edges of her grief. She retreated only to the silence of her studio, Her Haven. Located on the 4th floor of an ancient red brick building in Logan Square, the small audio studio was soundproofed so perfectly it could have been outside of time. As soon as she closed the creaky door and turned on the lights, the chaos of Chicago was forgotten. It was here, amidst her mixers, microphones, and wall of analog synths, that Lena used to make music with Noah. The vocabulary of their love had been their love of music. Now it was just her, by herself, patching ambient tracks she did not care about releasing. Until one night, she heard him. She was editing a field recording a series of train whines off the platform at Lake Street when a whisper cut across the static like a razor incision through flesh. Lena. She held still. The audio file just kept going on. Train sound humming low and metallic, but beneath it, buried like an essence beneath ice, was his unmistakable sound. Lena. Faltering. Muted. Quivering. She tore off her headphones and gazed at the waveform on her screen. There was no glitch, no spike in the signal. But she rewound the track, played it again. Lena. Her blood ran cold. The next morning, she convinced herself it had been a hallucination, auditory pareidolia. Her brain creating patterns from noise. Grief was said to create echoes. But then she heard it again. Not in the scream of the train. This time, in the hiss of her radiator. She was on the couch, exhausted, when the whisper came like a breath against her ear. "I miss you." She sprang upright with a start. No one was there. Later, she followed a moment of silence in her apartment. Ambient hum, the occasional squeak of pipes. But filtered frequencies below 30 hertz, there it was again. A whisper, readable now. Don't trust the light. She slept the whole night. She overlaid the recordings and inserted them into a spectral analyzer. No clear patterns emerged, but she noticed something strange. The waveforms, they spread out in spiral, as if a fingerprint. She had no reason why, but it reminded her of the last words Noah said to her on the night of the fire. "If anything happens to me, listen for me." Unsure if she was descending into madness or balancing on the edge of something real, Lena called upon an old friend, Eric Talbot, an audio forensics analyst she used to work under as an intern. She played the recording for him. Eric listened. Rewind, boosted the signal, put it through de-hum filters. 20 minutes later, he leaned back, his forehead creased. "This isn't just background noise. There's layering going on multiple tracks buried in one. Almost like someone buried messages in ambient noise." She nodded. "I didn't." "You sure this isn't just a glitch due to compression or loss of bit depth?" "Absolutely." Eric scowled and leaned forward, peering. "Then, someone is trying to get a message to you. But what worries me is this sub-bass distortion. Listen to this frequency." He cranked it up. A scream ripped through the speakers, such as metal shrieking underwater. Eric jerked back, covered his ears, and collapsed. Paramedics said it was a seizure. But when Lena turned to glance again at the waveform, something had been inscribed into the Signala spectrogram image of sawtooth characters. One was like an ear. Another, an open mouth full of teeth. She did not erase anything. Lena hadn't spoken about the fire in almost a year. It started in their third-floor walk-up apartment in Pilsen at 2:11 a.m. She was sleeping. Noah was awake late, messing around with a field recorder. She awoke to the odor of smoke, the flames making their way down her lungs. Noah screaming her name down the hallway. She fled. He didn't. The report indicated electrical fault, bad wiring. But Lena remembered flipping through Noah's journal on the ground, open pages, sketches of odd symbols ringed in red. She never showed them to anyone. She still kept them in a box in her bed. The last page read, "There is music in the flame. If you hear it, it's already too late." The voice changed. No longer whispers. It came in thuds, with knocks, rhythmic, 3 at a time, always in the same place, her soundproof closet. At 3:13 a.m., she heard the whisper again. "Behind you." Lena turned. Nothing. But the recording light on her interface had flipped itself on. She played it back. Static. Then, "I can feel you listening." Then nothing. Until the final second, when her own voice, but warped, deeper, older, spoke. "We're not alone in the quiet." The package had no return address. It came the day after Eric's seizure, wrapped in butcher paper and sealed with wax. On it was a reel-to-reel tape and a note written in shaky black letters. "For Lena, play only at night." In. Her hands shook as she placed the reel on top of her refurbished TEAC player. The tape popped and cracked, and then music. A droning, low-pitched buzz over which drifted something that sounded like a warped music box. And then the voice. Noah's voice. "You located it. That means it's already within. You must burn the tape upon completion. Otherwise, it will know." The music continued. Distant, faint voices, catchphrases she hardly heard. The mirror sings backwards. "Listen to the end before it begins." Then, silence once more. She played the tape back, but the message was gone. Chapter 7. The Frequency Door. After 3 nights of sleepless obsession, Lena constructed a speaker array in her studio, following the waveform spiral from her earlier recordings. She set each speaker to play one specific tone from the spectrogram signature. When she turned it on, the walls shook. The closet door creaked open on its own. A smell leaked out sweet rot and ozone. Lena went in and found the back of the closet was missing. It was just black, empty, quiet. She stuck a mic in there. The recording caught nothing. Dead silence. Until 3:13 a.m. Then a voice, muffled and broken, like assembled from 1,000 dead transmitters. "The door is open. Time is folding." Then, her name, whispered from all the speakers. Chapter 8. The Mirror. Lena obeyed Noah's journal directions. She found the mirror buried beneath insulation in what used to be their storage room. It was oval, rimmed with black wood that had been burned and was cold to the touch. She took it home. It showed no reflection but sound. When she spoke into it, nothing happened. But when she played the reel-to-reel tape in front of it, the mirror sparkled. And in the glass, she could see Noah, but not as he was, as he is now, twisted, still burning, yet alive, reaching. "You have to finish the song," he mouthed. Then he screamed, and the mirror cracked from the inside. They could no longer tell when she was awake. Sleep arrived in flashes static-filled images of Noah twisting behind the mirror, reaching out to her through flames. The waking world felt lighter in thickness now, as if she dialed herself into another channel stacked just behind the actual. She invaded Eric's lab late. His access card still worked. She slipped in, using the anechoic chamber, the quietest room in the city. Her recorder recorded nothing for the first minute. Then the microphones began to tremble. Low at the start, a pulsating thrum that teetered on the edge of silences. Then Noah's voice. "I'm not alone in here." She froze. A second voice came, a woman. Gentle, singing, yet deadly. She opened the door. "We are listening now." Lena's vision blurred. Her nose bled. The walls of the room seemed to buckle inward, warping like sound in water. When she crawled out of the room, the door shut behind her on its own. The waveform on her computer curled into a perfect circle. An ear. And in the center, a symbol, a shattered mirror with eyes drawn around it. Lena had encased the mirror in the soundproof closet under thick blankets and acoustic foam, but it was to no avail. Her speakers turned on during the night by themselves. Her synthesizers vibrated with signals she did not write. The broken mirror would begin to hum low notes that vibrated the floorboards and caused her bones to ache. The messages became more urgent. "Noah is trapped in the reflection," a whisper went. "The others want to wear your voice." Her recordings had changed. Her voice was off, slower, hollow, like something else mimicking her. Then came the worst. She found a recording on her interface labeled "Final Recording." She didn't remember recording it. She played it. It was her voice. "I am Lena Caldwell. This is my confession." The mirror does show the future, it replaces it. A scream echoed at the end of the file. Hers. But she never remembered saying it. That night, the mirror sang, and someone knocked 3 times from inside the soundproof closet. The voices grew louder. Lena was speaking once more, but not in her voice. It flew out of her like a second soul, warbling in reverse Latin, singing Noah's lullaby at frequencies that caused animals to howl and lights to explode. She consulted a fringe sound cult called the Resonant Order. They had believed in mirrors of perception, doors made not of glass, but of experience. And they told her that Lena was a living mirror now. "Where your soul once echoed, the choir now sounds," their leader told her. "If it fills out the song, this world becomes heard by them." Lena asked him who he was. His eyes bled. Then he screamed as his lungs exploded. She fled the cult headquarters in flames. Lena was a fugitive of frequency. She had learned how to shield herself: white noise machines, EMF shields, Faraday rooms. But nothing much worked. At 3:13 a.m., the world came to a standstill. Cars came to a halt. Phones stopped working. Music went backwards in playlists. And from each device poured Noah's voice. Volume turned up to thousands of layers. "It's not me. It never was." She collapsed. All this time, she thought she'd been trying to save Noah. But the truth? The real Noah died in the fire. What she'd been hearing was what had killed him, and now was repeating her voice, poised to ring others. There was but one way to take it down. Lena returned to her ruined studio, Ground Zero. She rewired the gear she could salvage, constructed an isolation rig, Saturday down, and she recorded. She sang the lullaby in reverse, then forward, then at layered octaves, then stretched, then back to binary. As the room pulsed, The final waveform coalesced on her monitor, a more compact spiral than any before. In its center, the mirror. It shattered. Noah's voice echoed, "Thank you." Then silence. Silence so profound. No one knows what happened that night. Only that all streaming services crashed at 3:13 a.m. All mirrors fogged from the inside out. And deep, far beneath the city, a lone radio aired white noise and went black. Lena was never seen again. But every now and then, some post a new file under her name, always titled Echoes of Goodbye. No waveform, no metadata, just nothing. But listen long enough, with the volume turned just right and the lights off, you'll hear music, your name in the chorus, and someone screaming at you in the background to turn it off. It started with a kid named Micah Reese, 10 years old, lived in Bridgeport, Chicago, born deaf. One day, he started humming. His parents, bewildered and amazed, took him to consult every specialist they could find. No implant, no therapy. But Micah still sang, a song that no one recognized, off-key, droning, low. Doctors called it a miracle. Then one night, he spoke in his sleep. Lena's gone, but she left the door open. The next morning, his entire family vanished. All that was left in the house was a broken handheld radio, still emitting static, and a mirror. A government agency known as ASRA Acoustic Signal Response Analysis picked up the anomaly. Behind layers of official secrecy, the agency had spent decades researching paranormal frequencies, broadcast enigmas that remained unsolved, and sonic-induced psychosis episodes. They dubbed the Lena experience Echo 9. Agent Maren Voss, a sound engineer herself with a catastrophic past, was assigned to handle the case. She studied the files, the fire, the mirror, the tape, Lena's disappearance, and now Micah. But what gave her the chill was the last recording pulled from Lena's studio. It wasn't an goodbye. It was a call, a beacon, calling something home. Humans began humming involuntarily. In buses, in elevators, in morgues, every human the same song. No memory of having done so. Hospitals reported a new disease, dermal auditory resonance syndrome. Victims complained of hearing voices through their skin. Their pores twitched, their ears bled. Then they'd start screaming in mirrors. And sometimes, the mirrors howled back. Agent Voss visited one of these patients by himself. A woman with bandages over her eyes, babbling. Until Voss played her a shortening of Lena's song. The woman froze, then spoke in Noah's voice. She sang the close, but the song needs more. Voss tracked Lena's final known online activity to a DeepNet server called the Reverb Chamber. There, she found a folder with the name Echoes Seed.wave. It was a key encryption activated by sound. She opened it with a sample of Lena's last whisper, uttered. In it, a 0.66 second audio file. Apparently nothing but noise. She played it once, and something entered the room. Lights flashed, her teeth ached. The walls appeared to beat in rhythm to her heart. On her laptop, words appeared. The song is alive. The blood is its record. Then she began to nosebleed, and her reflection whispered something she did not utter. After the sound file scandal, Agent Maren Voss boarded up her apartment with foam and copper mesh. She no longer slept. Lena awoke in her studio chair with a nosebleed, her audio interface still flashing red recording. She pressed stop. Playback started automatically. She expected static. Instead, she heard herself laughing. A low, guttural sound, looping over a warped version of the lullaby Noah had composed for her years ago. Beneath the laughter came distorted words, glitching like corrupted audio. She left the door open. Now we're in her mouth. Lena vomited. She had never been one to scare easily. But that voice, it wasn't hers. It was something wearing her voice like a mask. She smashed the interface. But as it twinkled and fizzled, the waveform continued to be on screen. Smiling. Upset, Lena fled the studio and barricaded herself with her old college friend Priya, who was a believer in chakras but not ghosts. She offered incense and sage, which Lena accepted, if only to feel that she was resisting it. But it continued. She heard it emanating from the radiator pipes, saw glimpses of Noah in the dead television screen. One night, she woke up to discover Priya gone, her apartment flooded with red light, the mirror sitting on the coffee table, untouched. But it gave off a gentle glow from inside itself. Her face glared back, except that it blinked first. Lena rode back to Pilsen, the location where the apartment had been leveled, hoping she would find things Noah had left behind. The building had long since been condemned decades before. Stepping inside, nothing was heard. Too still. She found his old field recorder hidden beneath a floorboard. Still working. She hit play. Noah's voice, calm. The day before the fire. The mirror is one of 5. They reflect different senses. Ours sings through sound. I think I heard the other ones calling, in case I don't return burn what I left behind. She fast-forwarded. A second voice crept onto the tapion that wasn't of this world, looping and layered in rhythmic pulses like a dial-up modem being tortured. Noah isn't yours anymore. He sings for us now. Then a tearing sound, like skin. Then nothing. Lena returned home, mirror in hand, and began wiring a trap. If the mirror was a sound feeder, she'd overload it. She mic'd each corner of the studio, stacked frequencies upon frequencies, and added Noah's lullaby for bait. She set it to play at 3:13 a.m. the hour the voices always came. The room grew cold. The speakers cracked and trembled. The mirror screamed. It was not a sound. It was all sound reversed, distorted, ripped asunder, and sewn together again into a single instant of unsufferable cacophony. And through all the chaos, Noah stepped forward fresh as always, stretching through the mirror, burning, crying. Stop it. She broke the mirror with a hammer. It wouldn't break. It bent the blow-end, began revealing to her a version of Lena she never knew. Smiling, black eyes, bleeding from the years. Lena burned down the studio. She played the song in reverse, recording Noah's voice onto a frequency engineered to cancel the mirror's vibration. The room shook. Smoke curled. Fire licked the ceiling. In the mirror, Noah screamed and vanished. But the smile in the glass lingered. She screamed, pounced at it. Everything was white. Lena survived the fire. Just. They found her unconscious among the studio debris, surrounded by melted synthesizers and ash. The mirror? Gone. The recordings? destroyed. She now lives in silence, deaf, the damage irreparable. But sometimes, when the lights flash at 3:13 a.m., she hears her own voice speaking, uninvited, saying things she does not know. And somewhere, far down below the boards of the world, something else is listening and waiting. Lena had not spoken in weeks, could not hear, could not sleep. But her body still had rhythm. She tapped her fingers to the beat of Noah's song without thinking, sometimes not even knowing she was doing it. It haunted her. She rented a room in an audiology research facility in Evanston. They mapped her brainwaves, trying to trace her silent landscape. All of the lab monitors that night were displaying a spectrogram, not of her activity, but of a voice. She opened the mirror. The air knows her name. And then the image. Her face, screaming, flayed by signal. She destroyed every piece of equipment in the room, but too late. The frequencies had another outlet. Back in Chicago, strange rumors began circulating online. Podcasts with anonymous voices, white noise filters that whispered intimate secrets, a TikTok that made thousands bleed from the ears when played after midnight. They all traced back to Lena's abandoned SoundCloud. She hadn't uploaded in over a year, but something had. A new song titled Reverberate. No waveform, no metadata, just one note in the comments. Not a song, a sacrifice. Lena knew what had occurred. The mirror did not burn. It changed. Now it was in the air itself. And it was singing. Each night, she listened. Not for voices, but for the spaces between noises. That's where it now resided. In the empty spaces. The quietness between beats. The gap after the click and before the pop. One night, her portable analyzer detected a reading, -13.113 Hertz, a frequency that shouldn't exist. When she played it through her headphones, she didn't hear anything, but she felt it. Her skin crawled, the air thickened. Her reflection in the darkened monitor twisted into something that smiled with too many teeth. She recorded her own reaction and ran it through a spectral viewer. A message burned into the waveform. You're already humming. In a secret laboratory beneath Lake Michigan, ASRA scientists tested what they came to refer to as resonant echo phenomena, REPs for short. Test subject number 6, blindfolded and watched, was exposed to 0.66 S of echoes seed W WAV. The responses were immediate. Subject hummed, then chanted, then shrieked. Then silence as subject catatonic mouth agape, eyes open wide, shaking hands as if playing strings in midair. But the foreboding aspect, reverse play on recordings, produced a new voice. A woman's voice. Lena's beat. You can't stop the chorus. You're part of the harmony now. Then the tape shredded itself. Voss traced a signal ping from an abandoned train yard in Hyde Park. Inside one of the gutted cars, she found a shrine. Photos of Lena and Noah. Burned out audio equipment. An altar made of mirrors and coiled cassette tape. Blood smeared across the wall in a perfect spiral. A field recorder sat on the floor, still running. When she pressed play, she heard Noah, but it wasn't a ghost. It was something borrowing his voice. I loved her too much. Now the song wears me. We are the silence between syllables. We are the beat between vibration. Her ears hurt, but she heard Noah's voice sonata whisper. Not a ghost, but a song. The final song. Single frequencies dropped away, only to extinguish like blown-out candles. She placed the shattered mirror the first, the original, into the coffin-shaped amplifier chamber Eric had helped design before his mind snapped. She connected it with the feedback loop Noah had described to her, tuned it to the dead frequency, and closed it with concrete and salt. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was peace. Back in her apartment, she dismantled her studio. No recordings anymore. No tapes anymore. She wrote a final note in Noah's journal, closed it, and put it away. At 3:13 a.m., the whisper never arrived. And for the first time, in a very long time, Lena slept without hearing anything whatsoever.